Welcome back into the live edition of the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, Stone Shields behind the scenes for today's live show as we run through all the latest on the Dallas Cowboys. NFL Hall of Fame announcement is coming tonight. Do you believe that Darren Woodson should make the NFL Hall of Fame? Why for yes and for no? I wanted to see if we get to 100% yes on votes. We cannot. We are at 98%. We are very, very close to reaching that figure, but not quite unanimous on that count, which I'm surprised some random Eagles fan is watching, given past history. They will announce the 2025 class tonight. Early streets are saying he's not going to make it, that Woodson's going to get snubbed again, and also that Eli Manning is going to get in first ballot, which it doesn't make sense to me. Because he got 2 rings? Darren has 3. I don't care if it's a quarterback. He didn't do anything in the regular season. Wasn't even that. He was never the best quarterback in the NFC East at any point. How is he a Hall of Famer? Because David Tyree bailed his ass out on a play? That's why he gets in? Eli shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry. If we're giving him in for 2, then I guess we're just going to we're going to put Trent Dilfer in as well, I guess. Doesn't make sense to me.
He beat the GOAT twice.
Who cares? So did Dak.
What? In the Super Bowl?
No, in the playoffs.
It doesn't matter.
So we're just doing it for two rings. It's the only reason why. 2 playoff rings.
Those runs were insane.
Their runs were great.
Incredible.
That doesn't mean it's a Hall of Fame.
I mean, I get the argument not first ballot, but he's a Hall of Famer.
I know he's going to get in. I don't think he should get in. The kicker shouldn't get in either for the Patriots.
Hey, Darren Woodson 100% should get in.
Okay, you're saving yourself.
Yeah,
you're saving yourself.
I don't have a problem with that, but Eli's a Hall of Famer.
Okay. I am frustrated that Darren Woodson continues to not get in somehow. It annoys me. So only make should he be in? Why for yes and for no? 97% are voting yes on that front. Should Darren Woodson make the NFL Hall of Fame? We'll find out tonight if he does this time around. It's why for yes and for no. There will probably be a community post up on the Cowboys Report, assuming he does end up getting snubbed. Today's show is made possible by GameTime. GameTime is the best place for last-minute tickets to your next big event. Maybe not a Cowboys game in the near future, and probably not a Mavs game, if we're being honest either, as they trade for more injured people. Download the GameTime app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Download GameTime today for last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Terms do apply. It's also made possible by PrizePicks, the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. The big game's almost here. Take advantage of the last football game you can do a PrizePicks slate on for a long time. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. We'll revisit the Cooper Kupp trade stuff, since new reporting is that the Rams are willing to eat a big portion of the money he is owed. So with that in mind, do you want to trade for Cooper Kupp? T for trade, P for pass. I still think you can argue both sides pretty decently. I think a healthy version of Cooper Kupp does fit what I think the Cowboys would like to do on offense this upcoming year. Solidifies your number 2 role. He's also not been healthy on a consistent basis. His play has declined, and his production has declined, and he's expensive still. So I think there are different pros and cons, and maybe it seemed like Houston in the end ends up landing Kupp, and they're a bit more aggressive because that front office is aggressive, and certainly more so than you have been in the past. So get those votes in, T or P in the comments. Asia Roberson asking about the Luka trade. Yeah, stupid. Just dumb. Ken says T. Ecuador Man says P. Still costs too much. Robert says T and draft a receiver. I will say this. I don't know if you do too. At least like premium assets that like you would feel impactful with, because You have CeeDee Lamb, obviously. In this scenario, you're letting Cooks go. Cooper Kupp comes in. You have Jalen Tolbert. You have Jonathan Mingo. You have Jalen Brooks. You have Quandre. You have Ryan Flournoy. I don't know if they need another receiver in that case. I wanted two, not just a receiver. I think hopefully that differentiation does make some sense there. So T or P in the comment section. Do you want to trade for Cooper Kupp? As Wyatt3211 says, think the Cowboys go 10-7 or higher next year. I wonder if I can get the early win totals out there. Let me look this up here. Let's see. Make sure this is the right date. Yeah. Early win totals. Oh, boy. Early win totals for Dallas at 6.5? That is shockingly low. Oh, no. This was updated going into the... Never mind. Disregard that. That was going into the end of the season, and that's why I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. There's no way it's that low. It's the Cowboys. Now, okay, so I don't have the updated win totals. That was going into like the very end of the season, and that's why I was at 6.5 of a win versus loss in the final 2 weeks of the year. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I think 10.7 is probably around the upper median range of outcomes. I think it's very possible. If they don't do anything in free agency and they lose players again, I don't think they get there. I think they can if they kind of get the offense back on track. Defense adjusts to a new DC again. But NFC East looks better now with the Commanders being a legitimate team. So it's not as easy as it once was. But I appreciate that super chat, Wyatt. Thank you very much, my friend. We'll get to Ecuador Man AOG's $2 super chat. Is when are we getting a Marshall versus Tom Eli debate? I respect Marshall too much to body him like that. Marshall's blinded by his Giants fandom. He can't be objective. Because if you put the same resume up there for Eli Manning and the Cowboys, he'd be anti it. He'd be anti it. We'll talk free agency on today's show, but now I want you to name a free agent who you want the Cowboys to sign. I've got 25 names. I could have done 50, and I think that's just too much. So we'll do 25 and then do another 25 on just offense, just defense, and expand to the 50 at that point. So name a free agent you want the Cowboys to sign. Well, Myles Garrett's not a free agent, but you can trade for him if you want. It's going to cost you a lot. Got an Earl Thomas one. I'll drink my Powerade some storm the weather a little bit. There we go. Earl Thomas. Hey, old safeties coach is now in Dallas. Someone will say it. Earl will say it. Amari Cooper, B.J. Hill, Will Hernandez, Aaron Jones. All guys we'll get to as part of that segment today. So get the names in there. I'm curious what other names we can come up with here. Now, if you are ready for us to start today's live show, do me a favor, like the video. Free, simple, easy, helps us continue to grow here at the Cowboys Report. So if you haven't already, hit that like button for me right now. We'll run through the upcoming segments today, then hit the Zach Crosby Super Chat before we get the live show going. Coming up live, Cowboys news and rumors, lots to discuss here. Michah Parsons extension as part of that conversation. Will he end up getting paid? And if he does, when he does, maybe, what does it look like? What should it look like? A mailbag, 2 ways to get on the show. Hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat to skip the line altogether. And run through 25-ish, I might cheat again, free agent targets for the Dallas Cowboys. From Zach Crosby, $5. I don't know what the Commanders yet, Tom. I've got Houston and Stroud vibes with how high everyone is on them. Okay, so I agree with that. That's fine. I agree. I don't want to anoint Jaden Daniels, and you can go back and watch some of the NFL shows. I said, I don't want to anoint CJ Stroud yet because it's just 1 year. It gets harder in year 2, and you saw that for Houston. The Texans still made the playoffs this year, and I think you can still consider the Commanders a potential contender, or at least viewed going into the year as a contender, even if maybe they only win 9 or 10 games this year. I think both of those things can be true. And the Commanders might be a bit more aggressive in free agency than you will end up being. So, but I do get the overall pumping the brakes on Washington. I think that's very fair. Let's get into today's Cowboys Report. Before we dive in, should Darren Woodson make the NFL Hall of Fame? We'll know the answer in a few hours here, depending on when you're watching this, when the NFL announces its class tonight. Should he make it, though? Y for yes, N for no. Let's revisit the Cooper Kupp trade stuff here. Amid reporting that the Rams are open to eating some of Cooper Kupp's contract, let's revisit this idea and if this makes sense for the Cowboys. Now, the money matters here, because the Rams can save 12.5-ish with a trade, 15 with a post-June 1st cut, 7.5 pre-June 1st cut. As it sits right now, a new team owes $20 million in 2025 and a non-guaranteed $19.85 in 2026. Now, Kupp's 2025 contract, that $20 million, breaks down as such. 12.5 base salary, $7.5 million roster bonus, $5 million of which is already guaranteed, has not yet been paid out. So my first question is, what amount are the Rams actually willing to eat? Are they going to eat the $5 million and make it a $14.5 million owed for the Cowboys and Kupp? Or are they going to eat the entire roster bonus and just let a team pay the base salary? Now, Kupp as a $12.5 million rental is more interesting to me and far more than the $20 million price. $20 million is non-negotiable. I'm not paying that. 12.5? Maybe. The reality for Cooper Kupp is he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He hasn't been able to consistently stay on the field and produce even somewhat close to the way he was able to back in 2021. He hasn't been that same guy for 3 years. So I am very curious, how much are they eating? How much am I paying in terms of draft cost? This was Bleacher Report's trade idea. The Cowboys get Cooper Kupp and a 7th in exchange for a 3rd and an unnamed, undescribed, anything. They didn't tell anybody, just conditional pick. Nobody doesn't know what the conditional pick could be because BR's lazy. And they were lazy when they wrote this. We know a few things about the Dallas Cowboys. We know that owner Jerry Jones has never been shy about making splash moves. I am so tired of this lazy narrative around the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, Jerry Jones wants to make a splash. It gets reported every single year. When was the last time they made an actual splash move? Brandon Cooks for a 5th was not a splash move. Taking the best player on the board in CeeDee Lamb was not a splash move. The last real splash move, aggressive move, was Amari Cooper back in 2018. It's a long time ago. They normally do it at wide receiver, but Wildcat and Jerry ain't here no more. So I'm tired of that being the idea. I do find the Athletics trade idea, shout out John Machado, I think his idea is much better. A 5th this year, a 6th next year. Cowboys get Cooper Kupp, and the Rams eat a bunch of the money. That is more feasible for me. Even then, I think there are real arguments that we've mentioned that maybe it doesn't make the most sense. So do you want to trade for Cooper Kupp? Knowing the injuries, the money, all that stuff. T for trade, P for pass. It is the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. We got kicker contract talks here. Brandon Aubrey recently spoke about his contract, saying he is indeed open to getting a new deal and an extension with the Dallas Cowboys, saying, quote, it's up to my agent to go up to the Cowboys, see if there's any interest in signing it early, because he's got a year left on his deal. If an extension comes, the extension comes. If not, I'm still making 10 times what I was making working code, so I'm pretty happy. Classic kicker comment, and, he's making a lot more than he was doing code. I think the obvious comparison here is the Harrison Butker contract. Butker is the highest paid kicker on a 4-year, $25.6 million deal, making $6.4 on average. That's $17.75 million in total guarantees. That's the highest of all kickers out there in total money, APY, and guaranteed. You can expect Brandon Aubrey to beat that contract, whether it's by a little or by a couple $1 million per year. That's fair. That's reasonable. He's our alien. And also worth mentioning that Brandon Aubrey is essentially the same age as Harrison Butker as well. Doesn't feel like that because he got his NFL career start late, but they are the same age. So I think that makes it a pretty easy, 1-to-1 plus some money for Aubrey comparison. Today's show is made possible by GameTime. They got a new feature. It's called GameTime Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff. So you don't to only show you incredible deals on great seats. Don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. It is curation to make it easier to find that best price on great seats for comedy, concerts, theater, NHL games. If you want to go to a Mavs game or a different NBA game, I get it. Maybe the Mavs ones aren't as appealing post-Luka trade. Keep an eye out for the super deal. It is the best value for any given event. So go download the GameTime app and always be aware of the GameTime guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference if you find those tickets in the same section and row for less. Download the GameTime app, create your account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download GameTime today for last-minute tickets, the lowest price, all guaranteed. Let's get to Emmitt Smith's, I think, kind of surprising and borderline confusing, frankly, comments saying he doesn't want the Cowboys to draft Ashton Jeanty in round 1 out of Boise State. Here's what Emmitt Smith said on Radio Row. Quote, "If Jeanty comes to the Cowboys right now, he's going to get beat up. I don't think we're ready. I don't think we have the right mindset. We don't have the right commitments." I just talked about commitments and being disaligned. I think we're drafting exciting pieces. Fans get, we got Ashton Jeanty. We're going to run the ball now. Okay. Don't say Ezekiel Elliott and Rico Dowdle could not carry that team. No, there was no commitment to run the football. And when there was a commitment, when Dak Prescott went down, Rico ran the ball well. So don't tell me we can't run the football. Honestly, these comments don't really make sense. The first half did. Maybe the first quarter did. And then the arguments laid out kind of didn't actually make a lot of sense to me. I don't really know what Emmitt was trying to argue there. So first, before I go in depth on my issues here, do you want to draft Ashton Jeanty in round 1? Because you're not getting him in round 2, obviously. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Sound off in the comment section of today's show. Look, for starters, I think what Emmitt's trying to lead with, and when he's mentioned the commitments and being aligned and whatnot, I think he's saying he wants to run the ball, which makes sense. Emmitt's a running back. The running backs want to run the football. The receivers want to catch the football. That's how pass football. That's how it works. Nothing wrong with that. But he kind of contradicts himself along the way. He's saying, don't tell me we couldn't run the football. Zeke and Dowdle could do it. But then he's also telling us that you can't draft Jeanty because we can't run the football. That doesn't make any sense to me. You don't think that this Cowboys team is going to commit to the run, but the running back will get banged up in the process. And those don't make sense to me. And by the way, when was the last exciting piece this team drafted? They drafted a left tackle last year, a defensive tackle before that. CeeDee Lamb, which was just the best player on the board? They're not exactly a big, exciting drafting team anymore. I think at the core, what Emmitt's saying is he wants to commit to the ground game. And he doesn't think Dallas would do that. He doesn't want to make Dak do everything, which is okay. That's a fine argument. It's actually a pretty reasonable one. I also think that the Cowboys coaching staff moves do point to a desire to fix the run game. This run game hasn't been good enough. When the Cowboys have needed to run the football in years past, they haven't been able to on a consistent basis. They've had issues. They got to fix that. I think the real lesson you should learn from the Saquon Barkley hit with the Eagles is this. You want to have a great running back. Yeah, you do. That's awesome. You want good players on your team. You need to have a good offensive line. Saquon would not have had the Saquon production this year if he was in New York because that supporting cast wasn't good enough. So if the argument is you want to build out the offensive line first, okay, that's fine. I think that's actually a pretty reasonable argument, which I think you can do this offseason and then still draft Jeanty if you want to. I think a lot of us will get more on board taking it back in round 1 if you address a lot of your other needs beforehand. We are a little over 200 subs away from the 208K mark. Hit that sub button for more free Cowboys videos if you haven't already. More coaching updates for you guys, this time on the defensive line. The Cowboys have hired another coach to reunite with Matt Eberflus. Brian Bing is the new assistant defensive line coach. If you're going, Who is Brian Bing? Congratulations. You are also like me. Even I did not know who that was. Bears assistant defensive line coach this past year was a Tony Dungy fellow for the Colts back in 2023. Wofford defensive line coach before that. Pitt GA, Butler defensive tackle coach, coached some at Kent State. Even had a brief stint as a running backs coach at some lower level like Methodist University in North Carolina. I have no issues here because this is an assistant defensive line coach. I don't think it's really going to matter all that much. This is another guy Eberflus is familiar with. A lot of those guys on the staff so far defensively. Andre Curtis, Dave Borgonzi, Brian Bing, quarterbacks coach, David Overstreet, all come in under Matt Eberflus as the defensive coordinator. Aaron Whitecotton from the Jets is the lone new non-connected hire, but that's a good thing. You want to have a blend of outside hires and guys you are familiar with. Super chat time from Eric Ramsey, $5 start. Ramsey at half the contract. Would you get him? And how much you give up for him? Thanks, Tom. You the best. So let's say it's $10 million, and it is half the money. They eat the roster bonus and some of the base salary stuff, which I don't know if they do that, but we'll play along with it. You have no fourth-round pick. I think kind of what the Athletic offered, like a fifth and a sixth or a fifth and a future pick. I think that's about what I'm okay doing because it is just a rental. And I like the idea of giving up these day 3 picks for 1 year rental players. I'd like it if they were cheaper. Maybe you can get him to sign an extension and save him more money and have him for 2 years or something. But I think that all my extra fifth rounders is about where I'd start considering it. Troy Daniels, in regards to Myles Garrett, would you offer this? This year's 1 and a 2 next year. By the way, get a most valuable bot booter, CS football. We'll get you covered with a football, Troy. I appreciate that. I would say I'll email you about it too, so keep an eye on that. I think a 1 and a 2 is great. I think the Browns want more. I think the Browns probably want to get 2 1s, frankly. I think they would like to have more assets coming back their way. Because if they're trading Myles Garrett, it's rebuild time. You might, which is also kind of a danger for the GM because the GM might be signing his own pink slip at that point. That's why you got to, organizationally, you got to get on board with the plan. And if ownership doesn't want to rebuild, you can't trade Garrett. And otherwise, you're getting fired. So that's kind of the dangerous spot the Browns are currently in. We'll do one more super chat from Skylar Pippen, then we can move on to the second segment. Skip that other part there. Let me sip some of my Gatorade. Sorry if I still sound nasally here. Blame it on the illness I've been fighting through here. So my apologies for that. All right, Skylar Pippen. Would you be upset if the Cowboys had a chance to take Ashton Jeanty and didn't? It depends. It depends on who's there, what I did in the free agency market, what my needs are, and then I'd kind of would try to figure out beyond that. You know, like if Jeanty is the best player on my board, bar none, like there's no other first round grades, everyone else is kind of gone, you'd have to kind of convince me pretty heavily that there is a better option on there. I just want to take the best player available. But if I lose Oso Digizua and I got all these question marks across my roster, I might need to trade down and get more assets in that case. So my answer is not really an answer. It depends. There are scenarios in which I'm glad they took him and scenarios in which I'm glad that they didn't take him. But it all depends on what that board ends up looking like. And we won't know that until the Cowboys actually get on the clock and we get through free agency and everything else. Coming up on today's Cowboys Report, I want to break down a potential Micah Parsons contract extension. Micah once again saying he doesn't really want to wait for the Cowboys to get a deal done with him. And I completely agree on that front as well. They should not be waiting. Now, if anyone out there has friends who are uncertain about what a Micah deal could look like, the benefits to doing it early, this video is for you. So help us out by sharing today's video on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, whatever. Share that video for me right now. So Micah is now entering the final year of his contract. He is set to become, despite what he might have said publicly, the highest paid edge in NFL history. Despite him being listed as a linebacker on all the team websites and media stuff, he's a pass rusher. We know that. His current cap hit right now for 2025, the projected fifth-year option, is $24.01 million. That is a sizable amount of money. And the Cowboys' top priority, once the coaching staffs are all flushed out, is to get Micah Parsons paid, locked up, and signed before NFL free agency starts. The reason being is they can free up a sizable amount of salary cap space by doing so. Micah agreed, saying this Thursday on Radio Row at the Super Bowl. We have a lot of guys to sign. I don't think we can afford to keep having things wait out. I completely agree with him. You messed up not paying Lamb on time, not paying Dak on time, not paying Tank Lawrence on time. All these big-time contracts, you've messed up. And an extension can save up to $18 million on the salary cap. Now, maybe it's not all the way. We'll look at an example of how it might not get there, but it's still a lot of money. There's no justifiable football-related reason to drag this out. Go get it done. Player wants it done. What are you waiting for? Learn from your mistakes and get it done early. Because it might actually save you money. It might actually save you several $1 million per year if you do it early as opposed to dragging your feet again and consistently finding a way to wait and cost yourself only salary cap space. So will the Cowboys pay Micah Parsons before NFL free agency? My fingers are crossed, but I think it happens. Y for yes, N for no. Go vote the pinned comment of today's show, especially if the ad comes here on YouTube. Now, Micah has said in the past he is open to taking less, so to speak, to re-sign with the Cowboys this offseason. Here's what Micah has said. This is a previous quote from with ESPN's Todd Archer. I'm Jerry's guy. I think it'll be quiet. I know it's easier said than done because I'm at the table, but that's my guy. We talk about it and how much we appreciate each side, but I know numbers talk. At the end of the day, whatever it takes for me to continue to be a Cowboy until I retire, that's what I want. I feel like a lot of times you see highest paid, then we say they don't have weapons or don't have this. So I would just rather be in the best situation, you know? At that point, I don't think there's a big difference between $30 million and $40 million in my eyes, you know? And that's just me talking. My agent might be mad that I even said that. But, you know, for me, I've already been blessed enough where I can't complain too much in life. That's great. I still think when it's all said and done, Micah will get the highest paid non-QB contract in NFL history. Because there's like 5 guys coming up next, by the way. All right, now that's $35 million per year, beating out Justin Jefferson, Nick Bosa, $34 million per year in the average per year. The guaranteed money is a big thing here as well. Nick Bosa still outpacing Justin Jefferson at $122.5 with $110 million guaranteed for Justin Jefferson. So in the end, I still expect a record-setting contract happens for Micah Parsons. That's how the NFL agents make sure business gets done. How much of a record-setting contract, I think that is the area that's up for debate. And if you can do it sooner, it might not stay a record-setting contract for very long. Now, today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. I almost had a sneeze there. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. The big game is almost here, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season with PrizePicks. It is the best place to win cash while watching the big game. They're giving away a free pick for it as well. It is Patrick Mahomes, a half passing yard. It's so easy. It's going to happen. Put it on all your PrizePicks slates, football or basketball related. I am also going with Saquon Barkley. Pains me. More than 112.5 rushing yards. And I love the idea of a Xavier Worthy reverse with 5.5 yards on the ground for Worthy. So if you haven't already, go download the PrizePicks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. It's PrizePicks. Run your game. Let's talk the ESPN prediction that came out a couple days ago, part of their offseason articles. They predicted 5 years, $180 million with $125 guaranteed, which would be first in both APY and guaranteed money, resetting the market with a record-setting contract. There's a big note here. The Cowboys would like that. They love doing 5-year deals. It's the max amount of years you can spread out a signing bonus without having to add void years to it. That is a longer deal than what Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb got, but when you do a longer deal, especially at this level of player, it normally means more guaranteed money. That's not necessarily a bad thing either. Now, of note, if you can do this deal first, he might not wait long or last long as the highest paid non-QB. Max Crosby is due for a new deal. He's going to get a massive contract. Raiders have all the cap space in the world. Myles Garrett is due for a new deal. TJ Watt is due for a new deal. All those guys have their deals expiring within 2 years. Now, they're not on their second contracts, though, so they're older. That's worth mentioning. Aiden Hutchinson, due for a new deal soon. Jamar Chase is due for a new deal soon, and Chase will get record-setting money once he signs. So if you wait, whether the player or the team waits, which can be the player here maybe if it's a short-term wait, the cost might go up. In fact, I would bet it goes up. That is a big benefit to paying Michah Parsons earlier and not waiting because it will save you money in the long run. Now, I know not all of you want to pay Michah Parsons. Some of you want to trade him. So this is your chance to comment about it. Do you want to pay Michah Parsons? P for pay, T for trade. Sound off in the comments section of today's show. So I do want to look at what a Micah contract could look like in terms of how it impacts the salary cap. The salary cap is manipulable. It is an accounting tool for how you pay a player. It does not have to be a one-to-one correlation with the cash being paid and the salary cap hit going on a contract. For simplicity purposes, let's just use that ESPN projection. The years, the total money, and the guaranteed money. I think that just makes it a little bit easier. The biggest thing to figure out here is the signing bonus. Now, the signing bonus, you're paying a fifth of that over each of the first 5 years of the contract. So I'm going to pick a simple, easy number, $35 million. It could be more, it could be less. It just depends on what that's probably one of the trickier things to figure out at times, frankly. You know, what does the instant cash flow look like? All of that's got to get sorted out. But I'll pick 35 because it's a little bit higher than some of the other signing bonuses the Cowboys have done in the past, and still is within the ballpark of, I think, being feasible for all parties involved. Now, if and when the Cowboys pay Michah Parsons, I think it's a when. I think they'll get it done. My fear is they're just going to do it in August because they're stupid. We will have a video for you. Hit that sub button right now. So, using the $35 million signing bonus, this is how you could structure the Michah Parsons stock base salary. So this is not how it impacts the salary cap. This is just the simple base salaries. I've got 29.9 in 2026, 36 in 2027, 24 in 2028, 29 in 2026, and 28 in 2030. Now, the reason why I've got bigger base salaries in 2026 and 2027 is all those years are already guaranteed. I have to guarantee them to get to the guaranteed figure that ESPN had. So I've got simple restructures planned here. Now, you could make it an option bonus on the contract if you wanted to. That's what the Eagles do, but the end result is the exact same thing. So I've got 2 void years here as well because I'm going to do some simple restructures over the first couple years of this contract. I can add more if I want to, by the way. So when I restructure in 2026 and 2027 and 2028, this is the projected cap hits. There's just one example. The numbers can ebb and flow and change. It's $8 million in 25. That's it. That's all I'm paying. It's $8.1 million. 14.9 in 2026. 20.5 in 2027. 27.5 in 2028. A massive jump in 2029 to 49.5. Then drops back down for 2023. In 2029, I have a decision to make. I can restructure. I can extend. I can trade him if I want to blow it up and rebuild after my 4-year window with Dak Prescott under contract expires. I am not paying hardly anything more than what I am already set to pay Micah on the salary cap right now with the way I've structured this deal. This is why you don't wait. It sets me up 4 years. I'm not paying that much for my best player. And then I can restructure, reevaluate in 2029 when I got to make a decision. That's what the Eagles would do. Will the Cowboys do it? We'll see. Now it's mailbag time here on the Cowboys Report. We've got two super chats we'll get to here from We Don't Wife These 304s and Hunter M. Get your questions in via hashtag Cowboys or skip the line altogether via super chat. Hit that hashtag Cowboys feature or the super chat feature. I'm going to sip some more water because I need it. But yeah, it's also clearly not water, but I don't know why I said water. But slept like 6 hours during the day yesterday. Helped out a lot. Again, get your questions in via hashtag Cowboys or skip the line altogether via a super chat. We Don't Wife These 304s and Hunter M. We will get to your super chats as part of this upcoming live mailbag. So get those questions in right now via hashtag Cowboys or super chat. Skip the line altogether. Another super thanks from CJ DeYoung III to begin today's mailbag. In all seriousness, where do we not have a need? We all know the dill holes who run this team won't make any moves in free agency. Not enough draft picks to fix all the issues that Jones have created. Our highest paid QB can't carry the team when needed. The franchise is a joke, and there's no hope in the foreseeable future. Thanks. So I'll go in order here. Not have a need, kicker. Everything else at some level, you need something, even just depth. You need something. That's not unique to the Cowboys, but that's where they're at right now. You don't have enough draft picks to fill all your needs. You have to spend in free agency. And if you don't spend in free agency, the hope is not going to be there. Because if you don't spend in free agency and enter the draft with like 5 or 6 like real needs again, I can't fill all those needs. And the results are going to be really disappointing again. Now, this came in via Super Thanks. The feature on YouTube allows you to donate outside of live videos. Click the thanks icon, edit your message, send in your support. We appreciate it here. Even if it's FU Tom, we will feature you on the show. Just don't commit ism. That's a super thanks. From We Don't Wife These 304 is a super chat. Would you draft Banks at 12? You're funny. Thank you. I hope it's like funny haha, not like funny laughing at me. But either way, who cares? I would consider it. I think a good way to frame this question, with the way I think this draft class is going to go, is would you take the second best offensive lineman with the 12th pick? That could be Josh Simmons. That could be Armand Membu. That could be Kelvin Banks. That could be Will Campbell. There's not a lot of consensus in this draft class. You look at the receivers. Would you take the number 2 receiver at 12? Possibly. That could be Luther Burden. Emeka Buka. Could be Matthew Golden some. So I think it gets a little bit tricky. Would you take the number 2 corner? Could be Will Johnson. Could be Jahdae Barron. I think if you like Banks a lot and have a first-round grade, which I might, by the way, we'll see. I want to get the testing through first. I would not be opposed to it. As long as it's the best player on the board. That's the main thing I want to try to do this year in round 1. Hunter M. Tom, what is your nightmare 3-round draft scenario? I don't know. Like, you can't, like, all the first-round grades on your board are gone. No one wants to trade up. And you take a guy that the general consensus doesn't view as a first-round grade, and you reach on him. You know, maybe that's like they take a receiver, but they didn't have Boot Burden as high as that. They had like Matthew Golden high on them. You pass on a running back in round 2 because you think there's great depth, and you take a defensive lineman that ends up not working out again in the second round, or a tight end for some reason. And then you don't get a running back in the 3rd round either, with or without Rico, because you just missed on the premium guys. And then you don't trade up into day 3 to get your running back again. You do the exact same mistake you've made multiple years in a row. Dallas Sport Fanatic. If the Cowboys keep Rico, are you still drafting back like Jeanty or Hampton early? I am still very much open to. I think it makes sense. I don't want to make Rico a 250 carry back. I need somebody else on that team. I want to be a more heavy rotation. I loved what Rico did relative to expectations. I want someone with more juice. I do think like Rico Dowdle, Trayvon Henderson, I think that duo works. I think that's a good combination in the backfield. I actually really like that idea. But if I don't pay Rico and I lose him in free agency and I'm out there with Deuce Vaughn, Lipke, and Malik Davis, I'm drafting two backs. I got a big need there. So will the Cowboys draft a running back this year? I think they have to. Why for yes and for no? Go vote the pinned comment of today's show. Thurman Well, should we look for one of the better QBs in the class to be our backup in round 2? I think if we could get Ewers or Gabriel at 44, we should do it. I think there's a good chance Ewers is there. I would almost guarantee Dylan Gabriel is there. In fact, I would almost guarantee Gabriel's there in the 3rd round and maybe the 5th round. I don't want to take a quarterback on the first 2 days. I don't think the value is good. I don't like this quarterback class. I don't want to spend. I've got 3 picks that I can maybe find instant starters. I think that's 1st, 2nd, 3rd round. Maybe there's only rotation guys for one of them, but still. I don't want to waste one of those on a guy that in an ideal world doesn't play for me at any point in his contract. I don't think that's good asset management. Jenkins Gaming. Thoughts on Dallas getting wideout Stephon Diggs this year? Might be cheaper than T. Higgins. He will be cheaper than T. Higgins. I promise you that. I would not be surprised. His brother's here. He's a free agent coming off the injuries. The Cowboys love to win the deal more so than at any other point with the Diggs Cowboys rumors. Now it makes more sense. From Chris Alston. I think I got that right. Trade for DK Metcalf. Maybe. DK, let me double check the contract here too. I think he's kind of plateaued as a football player. He is not, he plays a bit finesse for somebody of his size. He's fast enough that it's not really that big of a deal. The Seahawks kind of need to make a decision with him because they've got a $31 million, almost $32 million cap charge coming his way. The Cowboys could trade for him and owe about $18 million of that. It's not that bad. It's doable. I would not be surprised if he gets shopped. He fits the outside vertical threat I think this team needs. Maybe you can work out a 2 or 3 year deal. I also wonder just how much DK Metcalf wants on a new contract because that might be a sticking point. I do think you need to get another wide receiver. How do you want to get that wide receiver help? D for draft, T for trade, F for free agency. Get it? Gianni Chacon. Hope I pronounced that right. If not, I'm terribly sorry. Why would we trade Micah and take our chance in the draft? Aren't we tired of not making it to the Super Bowl? He's making an impact on the defense. I think the pitch you'd be able to make is, hey, we're getting assets and setting ourselves up better for the future. But I do mostly agree. I don't think you're going to be able to find a Micah Parsons very easily. They exist. They happen. But they're not exactly easy to find players. In fact, when you took Micah Parsons, you did not think you were getting a Micah Parsons when you took him. That's not what you thought was going to happen. So I am of the mindset that I have a rare players on the path for the Hall of Fame with the start he's had. I will pay him and figure out the easier, in air quotes, stuff later. Today's show is made possible by GameTime. They got a new feature. It's called GameTime Picks. Makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. It is curation to make it simpler to get the best price on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, everything else in between. Keep an eye out for the super deal, like that one right there. It is the best deal for any given event. The Game Time guarantee is this. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find those tickets in the same section and row for less. Download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, ChatSports, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, all guaranteed. Hunter M, ideal, realistic defensive tackle free agent signing. I assume this is if you lose Osa. I don't know how realistic it ends up being because it's free agency and weird stuff happens. How about you sign Javon Kinlaw, who comes over with the Jets with Aaron Whitecotton, his D-line coach, and like Poona Ford? How about that? You get a big body on the interior, you get a 3 technique, and you draft somebody else in the top 75, top 80. I think that's doable. Jenkins Gaming, BJ Hill or Osa. Hill's going to be cheaper. He's older and not as productive. Osa's going to be more expensive. Cowboys like their guys. I do think BJ Hill is a pretty decent fallback option if you lose or miss out on keeping Osa. We will have multiple Cowboys videos for you every single day throughout the offseason. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. From Lance Dunbar's burner, would our past few seasons be the same or different if we'd been able to draft Dallas Goedert? I don't think it would have mattered. In fact, I think it would have been a worse place on the offensive line. Your tight end play has been serviceable enough. And by the way, I know the Eagles thought that the Cowboys were going to take Dallas Goedert. They wanted Connor Williams. They did not get sniped by Philadelphia. They were going to take the offensive lineman from Texas with that pick because they needed an offensive lineman more. They were going to make that pick. It made sense why Philly jumped them, but Dallas wasn't actually going to make that pick. From Troy, how low would you go in the first round if a trade is proposed? Again, it depends on who's on the board. And what, first round, high second round grades, first, second cheater round grades I've got there. But I think you can move down 10-ish spots. And I think if your top guys are gone, if Jeanty and the offensive lineman and Graham and all the top, and Ted McMillan, if all those guys are gone, I do think trading down and getting more assets does make sense, which we will do that mock draft idea on a future show. Ralph Lawrence, trade for Deebo Samuel. The Deebo contract's really weird, by the way. There's a big option bonus. The Niners have restructured it. It's kind of a bad spot. Also, he looked kind of heavy again. He's looked heavy for like a year now. Have you seen those photos, Stone? He looks like he's got my gut. Looks like he's always wearing a flak jacket. That's not a good thing. So I think if he gets cut, we can revisit. But I don't want to trade for him right now. Even though I think a Deebo type player would be useful. I want you to name a player who you want to trade for on today's show. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. And we'll wrap up with a couple of different super chats here. Joshua will be mired in mediocrity until Dallas stops being cheap. It's been over a decade since Jerry made a real splash in free agency. Brandon Carr. You are right. They will not get to where we want them to get unless they spend more money in free agency. I would argue this year was mediocre. The past couple years were not, but you are trending towards more of the same this year if it continues. Noah Turner. Would you go after a Trey Smith or a Will Fries? Trey Smith's going to be out of your price tag range. They're not going to pay him $21 million per year. They're just not going to do it. As good as he is. Will Fries is probably still going to be too expensive for you, but that is a higher level name, I think, that you could try to pursue if you wanted to get a good, reliable, instant starter upgrade along the offensive line. Gianni, what about a James Conner trade? They just paid him in Arizona, so I don't foresee them shopping him. At least not to the cost that it would make sense for you. Like, if you blow him away and give him a huge pick, sure, but that's not really the point of doing it. Super Bowl Sunday. Who are you cheering for? E for the Eagles, C for the Chiefs, A for the Asteroid. Chris or Stone, do not speak. You lost your rights last time. Who are you cheering for? E, C, or A? I am cheering for the Asteroid. I might bet on the Eagles, so at least if I'm sad on the inside, my bank account feels better. I've done it before. Yeah. You said no, it's who you're cheering for. You were cheering for the Eagles, what you said. Yeah, we'll wind back the tape later. E, C, or A. did check that the next asteroid is like in 2036 or something. That could like actually do damage. So that's like also like a 1% chance. So E, C, or A, get those votes in for me in the comments section of today's show. And we'll get set up for the final segment of the Cowboys Report. We're breaking down the top free agent targets for the Dallas Cowboys on today's show. The Cowboys, simply put, have too many needs to fill in just the NFL draft. And although they are tight on cap space right now, they can easily free up way more than enough to actually be active in the open market for once. Think about all this team's needs. You need multiple defensive linemen, 1 or 2 backs if you lose Rico, a number 2 receiver, cornerback starters, Diggs injured, Jordan Lewis is a free agent, offensive line, 3 of your best passers are free agent, linebacker, you don't have DeMarvion Overshown, safety, backup QB, tight end, all things that you need. Now, if you want the Cowboys to be active in NFL free agency, then like the video. We will bully the Jones boys into being more active. Show your support by liking today's video right now. Now, here are some players who I think are probably going to be too. There are probably more names in general, but notable ones. You're not getting T. Higgins. Trey Smith ain't coming. DJ Reed's going to be too pricey. Offensive lineman like Ronnie Stanley would be great, but he's going to be too expensive. Probably he'll be a guaranteed starter somewhere. I love Javon Holland, but even after a down year, probably too much money. Same with Chris Godwin and Khalil Mack and Josh Sweat. But you can still find players who can fit the Cowboys' price range and or if they want to spend just a little bit more money. Let's begin on the defensive line. In particular, if you end up losing Osa Odigizua, I think Javon Kinlaw really stands out as a logical fit for the Dallas Cowboys. Aaron Whitecott is your new defensive tackles coach. He coached Kinlaw with the Jets, where he had his best season in recent memory. He was a raw developmental defensive lineman. He's showing progress and growth. His lanky, long frame fits what Eberflus has liked in the past. If you miss out on Osa, I like Kinlaw quite a bit. Other names here, and we'll go quick on a lot of these to not have it be such a 45-minute show. B.J. Hill of the Bengals, who they got a great trade with the Jets a couple years ago, giving up Billy Price, isn't an elite sack producer, but can mostly hold up against the run from a 3 technique spot, not so much when asked to play nose guard, is a cheaper option if you need to replace Osa. Levi Onwuzurike from the Lions is next up here. This is a guy that hasn't played a lot and it got some more playing time this year amid injuries. Again, can do a good job stopping the run. The 20 nose guard, I asked for this 2 years ago. I'm asking for it again. Bring me Poona Ford in free agency. He wasn't as good in 2023 with the Bills. He was way better, back to his previous form with the LA Chargers. I don't want to rely on just having Mozzie Smith as my nose guard. I want to get another one in there. How about DJ Jones, Denver Broncos defense lineman, another guy we've discussed in previous years, who is now, again, going to be a free agent. Niners background, too, has some overlap a little bit briefly there with Aaron Whitecotton, by the way. His numbers have declined. I don't think he was always asked and put in the best spot this past year in Denver. I think you can get him on the cheap and hope for a better version, the guy we saw more in 2021. Let's get to another big boy on the middle, Bobby Brown III, out of L.A., former Texas A&M product there. Had his best year ever. Again, he's not going to be a sack guy, but he's a TFL guy. He can be a run stopper, can eat up double teams. You need that in Flus's defense. And I won't go too heavy on, players tied to Matt Eberflus. We'll do that more on the defensive specific version of this video. But Byron Cowart does stand out to me. Had his best year ever with Matt Eberflus. Probably shouldn't be overlooked. New regime in Chicago. And wouldn't be very expensive either. What is your confidence level in the Cowboys spending in NFL free agency? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end or 10 on the high end. Go vote the pinned comment of today's show. Let's put a bonus player on here too. That is Javon Hargrave. He doesn't technically count in the 25 because he is not a free agent yet. He is expected to be released by the 49ers. That is the expectation. He has been really good over the course of his career from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia to 2023. The Niners went healthy. If and when he's cut, he goes near the top of my list. All right, to the offensive line now. How about Will Hernandez, who you may have heard give a lot of high praise to new Cowboys OC Clayton Adams. Coming off an injury, he played really well before the injury and was pretty solid the year before that. He could be a cheaper starting caliber option for you at right guard. Another maybe bigger name, but not as expensive as like a Trey Smith, is Mekhi Becton. The Eagles got him cheap because he was a bust in New York. Go figure, changing your attitude and working with Jeff Statland and good things happen. Significantly better play out of Mekhi Becton this year. Probably made himself some pretty nice money this past season. Then there's James Daniels. Again, this is cheaper because he's coming off a torn Achilles, which is a red flag. I do acknowledge that. But he played a lot of right guard this past year. Was really good before he got here. He was playing awesome. He has center experience too. Between, Tyler Smith and Brock Hoffman and Cooper Beebe, and if you add like a James Daniels, I think you are set on the interior of your offensive line. I'm not looking at tackles for the time being because they're all too expensive, the good ones. If you cut Terrence Steele, we can revisit this. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. It is available in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So that way you can just do 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, whatever. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's PrizePicks. Run your game. To the receivers. Stephon Diggs, the rumors, they've already been here, are going to stay here. This is a player heavily tied to Dallas. His brother's here, and Diggs is now more affordable than ever. He's coming off an injury-plagued season. He was solid when he was healthy, but now he's hurt. He's been a bit of a journeyman now. He's played for the Vikings, Bills, Texans. A 1-year deal with Dallas wouldn't be a surprise. Maybe DeAndre Hopkins, who wanted to be a Cowboy. The Cowboys said no. They wanted to go get Brandon Cooks. He is now coming off what was a down year in Houston/Tennessee. Is worth acknowledging as well. Still has been a 1,000-yard guy for the most part when healthy, but he's missed a lot of time. His value is also lower, but he fits that archetype as an outside receiver for you. Marquise Brown is a different player than the first 3 names mentioned. That is a speedy vertical. Again, was banged up this year. Didn't play a lot. Struggled in Arizona. Had 1,000 yards in Baltimore. I'm picking guys with some issues because you're not going to get T. Higgins. We know that. Now, if you missed some of those bigger names, I think Darius Slayton is an intriguing option. That is an outside vertical threat. You don't really have that. Slayton, as a go-ball receiver, has put up 700-plus yards before with shaky at best quarterback play, shaky at best QB play. I think that fits there. And then a potential reunion with Amari Cooper. I wonder if those bridges have been burnt or not. But again, he's cheaper than ever. Amari, frankly, wasn't that great this year. He had drop issues again. Part of that was in Cleveland. He kind of was inconsistent in Buffalo. But now's a chance where you could actually bring him back on the cheap. And I think it would fit with what Shotty wants to do. So would you bring back Amari Cooper? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's video. Now, there are names on this list that will probably be too expensive once they actually get paid. And Charvarius Ward might be one of those guys. Because of the unfortunate tragedy that Ward suffered off the field this year with the loss of his daughter. Ward, I don't know if he wants to go back to San Francisco. He's kind of hinted at that. When he's played, he's been awesome. So if he wants to come back to Dallas, I have interest, but I just wonder what the money's going to be like. Stephon Gilmore fits what you need right now. Now, he didn't get a lot of interest last year. He had to wait for a while to sign with somebody. That'll probably happen again. And if he's okay being a stopgap starter while Trayvon Diggs gets healthy, this reunion makes sense. I think he fits even with his scheme enough too. Then a buy low name, Jonathan Jones. Wasn't that great with the Patriots this year. Kind of took a step back, frankly. I'd seen better play out of him in the past. That 2022 season was awesome. But he kind of lost his job to an extent. But if you can get a buy low option at corner, which I do worry about because if the corner leaves Bill Belichick and struggles, history says he's just not very good. But I think you could gamble on this one still as a buy low option. A lot of names you can put in here. Name a free agent who you want the Cowboys to sign. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Let's hit running backs here as well. Aaron Jones. It is not a great back class. He's probably one of the better ones, so would have loved to have signed last year. Ended up going to Minnesota for more money. Had 1,000 yards, 7 total scores, still got 4.5 yards per carry. I don't know how much more he truly has left in the tank. I think he is getting up there in age. Might only be a one-year deal, but I think he'd be a great one-year stopgap for you. The other big name you'll see mentioned is Najee Harris. And, that's fine if you want to go at him. I think you need an explosive back to pair with him. Because Najee Harris, he is who he is. He's a 4-yard per carry back. That hasn't changed. That's who he has been almost every year of his career. That's fine, but why not aim for higher? J.K. Dobbins is next up here. And we mentioned him a lot this past offseason. Would like to try that one there. Almost 1,000 yards in only 13 games. Looked a lot more like the Ravens' explosive runner we saw in the past. The injuries still mean he probably won't be very expensive. But there is a lack of options in the free agent market at running back. That'll push the market up. The deep draft class will push things down as well. So I'm curious what the price tag looks like for J.K. and Dobbins and all these other backs. Now, if you want just an offensive-focused and just a defensive-focused list of free agents, show it by subscribing. We'll do that in the future. All right, free agent targets here. I wanted to put Trayvon Merrick on here, but I'm not going to get my own hopes up for that one. Dre Greenlaw might be too expensive. Only played 2 games last year, though. That was it. He's coming off the injury. Probably wants to stay in San Francisco, frankly. But if I can pull him away, I've always been a big fan of his game. I think it'd be a great pickup. Nick Bolton from the Chiefs. I do wonder if he's a good enough fit with what Eberflus likes to do at linebacker. But he's good. He's always making plays. He's not great in coverage, but he's a run-stopping machine. And I think you need that guy on this roster, especially with DeMarvin Overshown set to miss time. So Greenlaw and Bolton are the more expensive options. And then there's Robert Spillane, the Raiders linebacker, who is not a household name, is not a superstar caliber player, but I'll give him this. He's just pretty consistently solid. Last couple years, 100-plus tackles, was a good player in Pittsburgh, was a solid player for the Raiders. It's not sexy, it's not splashy, but he's solid. One more name here is Tyrell Dodson, the linebacker from the Dolphins, who was with Seattle, got traded. I think fits better as kind of a weak side, run and chase style linebacker. I thought was pretty solid in a limited sample size for Buffalo, and I think still did some good stuff in Miami in particular. So I wouldn't sleep on adding a linebacker in general. I think that you probably want to add a veteran linebacker, which could be Eric Hendricks or outside the organization. A $2 super chat here from Joshua. Will Hernandez to replace Zach Martin if he retires? Put him on the list for a reason there. I'm down. I think that's affordable, cost-effective, good player. Cowboys like to come out of UTEP. I think that's a good idea. Before we go, should Darren Woodson make the NFL Hall of Fame? 95% right now voting yes. I fear and will know for certain later tonight, but the streets were saying at Super Bowl week that doesn't sound like it's going to happen. It's going to end up being a no-go for Darren Woodson, which I think is a joke. Get your votes in. Y for yes and for no. Be back live again on Monday for our next live show. Just one video on Sunday because history says once Super Bowl kicks off, nobody watches. Can't say I blame you. So next live show on Monday. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out.